the incredible George Wendt, who did all 275 episodes of Cheers.
Did anyone else do that? All of them, or was it just you? I can't remember.
I think so.
It was you guys
Rhea
and
had
Rhea.
a couple of babies.
You, Rhea, and Teddy.
But on the night, we had to shoot around Teddy when he went to Africa for a movie.
That's
so he didn't really do.
No, and nor did Rhea, because she had a couple of kids. Well, she had 3, but only 2
So it was you,
involved
period.
Production. Say what? It was
It
me.
was you.
Your
just
3
you.
kids
That's
never interfered with your ability to get there and shoot the episode.
I think the heading is reminiscing.
Okay.
At the moment.
Okay.
And then catching up with anything you want to catch up with. But
right.
I love this combination because you and I, roughly the same age, right?
Yes.
We were like 37 or something when Woody at age 25 showed up, and immediately there was this sense of kind of a pissing contest, and let's show the young buck who we are, the new boy. And I remember taking him out to play basketball. Do you remember?
Yeah.
And he kicked our ass.
Yeah.
Basically.
Well, that's the thing about Wood. He's a gamer, like he would kick your ass in basketball, and then he would beat you in chess. And then he would beat you in arm wrestling. And then he would beat you in a water fight. And then he would beat you in poker. And you know what I mean? It's like he likes to win.
It's true, to the point where if we had a good practical joke, it would be a waste to do on anyone except Woody. Woody was the focal point of the, I remember also you'd come in on Monday. And
eventually,
eventually he'd be late, but he'd come in and we'd both go, come on, Sherry, tell us what you did this weekend.
I know. Oh.
What was funny is that you're saying it from your perspective. From my perspective, I was like so scared, like, God, these guys, like, I just looked at you guys as just these walking gods, and like I was very nervous.
Hey, hand on the Bible. Is this true, or is this
No, this is
doing
true.
a bit?
This is true.
See,
But I mean, I'm saying, this is at first. Eventually, you guys made me feel so welcome and at home. And then there was also the thing of Coach being,
that's
passing,
true. You were stepping into
is
someone else's
strange.
part. Yeah.
Remember? Like the first day, like I remember we were all like, we were still reading from the script at that point, and I remember we were all like, getting our blocking and just the very first doing it. And then Shelley goes, "Oh, God, it's so strange,"
Oh,
remember that?
To have Nick there.
Yeah. That Nick isn't here, and there's this new face.
So you didn't, but you hadn't seen the night I met you. You had not seen Cheers yet.
Oh, when we met at the store.
Yeah, we were at Gelson's.
That's right.
And I see these 2 young guys giggling and faces turning red and pointing at me. And we'd been on the air for like 2 years, maybe 2.5.
Three.
And so I was sort of used to it. And eventually one boy prevailed and pushed the other over to me. And it was Wood, and he goes, I just wanted to say hello. My friend told me, I'm auditioning for your show tomorrow.
Oh, you're kidding.
And I said, oh, that's great, man. Tell you what, good luck with that. Yeah. And, hey, what's your name anyway? Woody. Oh, no, not the character's name.
Yeah.
What's your name? He goes, Woody. I go, I think I might be seeing you tomorrow.
Yeah. So, that was I forget who I was with at that time, but I do remember.
Clint.
Oh, or Clem. Or maybe it's Clint.
No, it's Clint.
It was Clint.
Yeah, it's Clint.
Anyway, yeah. He said he's on Cheer because I hadn't seen it yet.
Yeah.
Because I was a television
You were a
addict.
movie star already by then, right?
No, I was a television addict, and then I quit television cold turkey when I went to college, and I didn't watch it again, which Cheers, started while I was in college. It was 82, I believe. And then, so I didn't want to do television. I wanted to do theater.
Yeah.
And I had been on a sabbatical from the play to go do this movie with Goldie Hawn. And then that happened while I was finishing it up, and I was in LA. And I ran into Leo Jeter, who's from our college, and he said, I just auditioned for this show, Cheers. You should audition. They're calling the part Woody, and you should audition for this. And I said, well, I don't really want to do TV. He says, well, this is a pretty special TV. Well, after I met you, and then that next day I did the audition, and then I'm like, at the end of the audition, then they're like, we're going to bring you in for the, what do you call it? The thing where the last thing where you got to sign the network audition.
Network, yeah.
That's what they call it. And so you got to sign your life away at that point. So I'm like, well, I better watch this show. And then I watched it. I'm like, oh my God, this is a good show. And the way it was so different qualitatively, just cinematically, because it was like filmed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you look at other television and it was.
Yeah. And even the set was pretty
Richard
amazing.
Silver,
Richard, yeah.
That's right. And the lighting,
Yeah.
the way he could light so you could be anywhere on the set, and it kind of worked for.
It really was a big character, the set itself and the show, because it was like doing theater. You had to be, everyone in the bar had to be live at all times, because you'd be in the background, of almost every shot.
Yeah, and the audience, it is theater.
Yeah.
And and you think about it, theater is a master,
Yeah.
and honest to God, I was, like a theater, improv, but still it was stage work.
Right.
I didn't know, I had no idea where the cameras were ever. I was only playing to the house.
Right.
Oh, you mean during Cheers?
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, the first couple of years.
Right.
Afterwards, I was like, wait a minute, I'm not drinking this piss. Like, the camera's way over there. Like,
Right.
The only thing I realized about cameras was if you had, because we were all live and you would be crossing in behind the bar, or Rhea would be crossing behind, you were in your corner, but there was lots of crossing and everything. And I noticed that when I had a great joke, Rhea, Woody, everyone would be crossing right behind me. If I had a crappy joke, it was like, tumbleweeds. No one could be found in the shot. It's like, no, stay away from that. We're bouncing all around. This is not urban legend, though, that when we would be in the middle of the week rehearsing and we would notice that one of us was having trouble with a pretty hefty speech or something, or a moment, we would get glints in our eyes.
We loved it.
And we would go, oh, we'll be there for you on the night. And then we had those spitballs, those little short straws, bar straws.
Cocktail straws.
Yeah. And there was actually, I think, a shot, or at least this is the urban legend, where you can see a spitball in your hairline, where one of us had managed to land one while you were trying to do your.
Well, I'll never forget. I hit you right in the uvula.
Yes.
Seriously, you were laughing like that.
Yes.
Your mouth was that open.
Yeah.
And I saw it, and it was a Zen moment. And it was just, ding, and it land on your uvula.
But that led to realizing that this is a great new version of the game, and we would actually do that. We would open our mouth and stand back and see if anyone could.
Yeah. God, that was fun. Remember we did that even on the thing with Jay Leno at the very end. We were doing spitballs. We were so drunk by the time that came around. Remember?
They had brought us in. We had finished shooting, and we hadn't seen each other for 2 or 3 months, and this was the final goodbye. The episode was airing, and Jay Leno was going to have this after final episode. And they brought us into the bar to do interviews at like 2 p.m. And we were in the bar at Cheers, Bull and Finch. What do you do in a bar? You start drinking, and then later you start smoking. And so by the time, literally, that Jay Leno, he looked up from his notes, and they were going 5, 4, 3. And he looked up and saw us all really for the first time, and his eyes started to spin, going, "Oh my!" We got a lot of shit for that. You remember?
Well, not only. Sorry, I put it back on Jay, but not only was he green. I think it was his first live episode. Probably he may have never done it live again after that.
I wouldn't blame him.
Yeah, it was.
We were in poor shape to be doing an interview.
I think actually the only sober person was Kelsey. Everyone else,
because he was kind of mandatorily.
Maybe I don't know, but I remember the rest of us.
Ironic.
Okay, go back to casting. How did you get cast? What was that process for you?
Yeah, my agent called and said, honey, they want you to do this Cheers. Now you're not available because I had this other show at Paramount, right? It was for CBS, and then they go, but they want you to come in anyway, and it's really small though. I go, oh, okay. Well, I like those guys. You remember them from Taxi? Yeah. And how small? Well, it's really just one line. I go, oh, okay. Oh, actually, it's one word. I'm like, oh, really? Well, come to think of it, it's one syllable. I go, what's the syllable? She goes, beer. And the bit was Shelley. It was to be a tag, which didn't really exist on our show afterwards. And Shelley was the end of the pilot. And Shelley was going to go, hi, I'm Diane. I'll be your waitress. Well, I'm not really a waitress. I'm an academic. And she goes into a page-long recap of her, as she did. And then she goes, oh, I'm sorry. I should be taking your order. What can I get you? And I go, beer. And she goes, beer. Perfect. And that was the end of the episode. But they said that Stephen Kolzak said that's, it's too small. We can't get you don't read that. Here, read this other. And it was George. And so.
Read this other, wait, what?
This other role, the role of George. And so I read it, and then they decided they were going to try to make it work out where I could do both shows. And then the other show got canceled.
Right.
So that
Making the grade.
Making the grade.
So I was thinking about that because, as I was saying earlier with Teddy, I learned some things just looking through these bios that I didn't know. Like Making the Grade was 82 and you did 6 episodes and then it got canceled and you must have been so freaking demoralized, and yet, thank God.
Yeah, actually the day that we did not get picked up for Making the Grade, the offer came in for Cheers. They knew because it was Paramount. So it was
now your part in the pilot though got bigger because I can remember one of my favorite lines is you trying to make conversation with Shelley. What are you reading? A book?
yeah. There's
wasn't that in the pilot or no?
It might have been as the George character, which I didn't really see till later. But and then one day about not too long ago, 7-8 years ago, I was doing a symposium with Glenn and Les and Jimmy at UC Santa Barbara, and they were having a Q&A with this audience. And I was sitting back. Oh, they meant for me to come on about halfway through the program as a surprise. And so, but I'm watching Glenn and Les. I'm in the wing, just sitting on a bar stool. And they're answering all these questions. Someone said, now, did you have anybody in mind when you were writing Cheers? And they go, oh, God, no. Oh, no. Oh, we saw everybody in Hollywood and New York, and we months and months of meticulous casting and chemistry, and this is for Sam and Diane. And then they go, but Rhea, we did have Rhea in mind, and George. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm sitting now. I find out 20 years later, and you think of it, the role was written, George, but Anyway, I know that other people were considered, but then they fessed up to that. That was weird.
Well,
So I didn't know the George part, that there was a character named George.
Yeah.
That became Norm, or
Yeah, they changed it to Norm when they cast me.
So when they were writing it, they called it George.
In
and
the
they were
script, it was
thinking of
George,
you.
yeah.
Were they involved with making the grade? Were they?
No, but I had done Taxi.
Oh, right.
And did a bit.
Oh.
It was a fun bit. I must have scored. Yeah. Teddy, you scored on Taxi. Too.
I was doing Taxi, kind of a last-minute replacement to come down and do it. But that was when I was shooting that or rehearsing that. I got called into Les and Glenn and Jimmy's office to talk about Cheers. And that was the first time I'd heard about it. I remember talking about auditioning. I met him a couple times and read maybe once or twice, and then at one point they said, "Okay, great. Do us a favor. Don't take any other work until you check with us." And I went, "So does that mean it's my part?" And they went, "No, just check with this before." And I walk out. There were two entrances. There was an entrance and an exit in their office. It was on the second floor. And I walk out the back door, and I see a line of actors coming up. It's like, oh, man. I think for sure, I know for a fact that I got the part because of Shelley, that Shelley and I read well together. And Shelley was such a home run for that part.
The chemistry
was she already cast at that point, or no?
No, but she was, I think, everybody's favorite. They knew that she was the one who was going to play that part.
But that's a little disheartening, walking out the wrong door and seeing that long line.
Yeah. But actually, this was the first time in my life I did not do the, I won't get it, or I won't. Some part of me went, don't do that. Just, I think this could be yours kind of thing. And it was.
Nice. Oh,
do you ever
have
that moment where you go, it happened to me, I don't know, probably 10 years ago, but all of a sudden I went, oh my God, I got to play Sam Malone. It struck me. Wow. Unbelievable. What an amazing character. And I got to play Sam Malone.
But the cool story is Rats.
True. Yes.
He went in for my role, for George.
Yeah.
And he sensed it wasn't going well. And then he literally, in this case, had one foot out the door. And everybody's, well, thanks for coming in. Yeah, thanks. One foot out the door. He pops his head back in. Do you have a bar know-it-all? And they go, no, what do you mean? And he started riffing as that character. And, Cliff.
He just started going off a little bit, talking, and then just they're like, "Holy shit, this guy!"
To this day,
so that he had a lot of I can't remember the name of his group, but
Sal's Meat Market,
right?
It was him and this guy Ray.
But where did that? Was that
UK?
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah, England, UK.
England, yeah, he worked street theater and everything.
Yeah,
I think, right?
Like 10 years.
And pretty much every war movie ever made out of
he was a Yank,
he was the Yank.
Well, just for somebody to be able to turn around and have the wherewithal after you've sunk your bag.
Yeah.
It's no good.
Chutzpah.
And then that's chutzpah. And you got to have that 10 years of serious, street theater under your belt, because you had Second City, right?
I did.
And how long did you do Second City?
6.
6 years?
Chicago.
Yeah.
And I didn't know the thing. That was another thing I learned on these notes here, that you came in the first day they hand you a broom. Here you go, kid.
Yeah. Yeah.
Ring the doorbell. Stripes kind of moment.
Yeah, no, it's like, I think you're ready. This is the workshop teacher.
Right.
Josephine Forsberg. I think you might be ready for the children's theater. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Because they worked right on the main stage at Second City. So I thought that'd be just where all these people were, Joe Flaherty and Brian Murray and Harold Ramis. And so, come Sunday, come in at 11 o'clock. And I go, "Oh, I thought the show was at 2:30. Yeah, just come in at 11." And I ring the doorbell. Nobody. Finally, I get let in, and she hands me the broom and the dustpan. What happens is she wanted me to sweep up the room, and the night porter didn't come in till like a couple hours before the show. So it was cocktail glasses everywhere, cigarette butts on the floors and in drinks and in ashtrays. Like I had to clean up the room. The house.
Look at you now.
Some of the things in life are worth bragging about, like when you finally cut ties with Big Wireless and switch to consumer cellular. When you switch, you can brag about having the same fast, reliable, nationwide coverage as Big Wireless, but for up to half the cost. You can brag about getting top-tier customer service, and you can brag about being free.
It's a lot of bragging.
It's a lot of bragging. And consumer cellular, just to let you know, has some bragging to do. Rightfully so, because they've won awards from J.D. Power, Shopper Approved, PC Mag, and Forbes. Those are the real deal, those magazines. Mm-hmm. From their rates to their coverage to their real human customer service team. It's time for you all to see what the hype is about. And I have, by the way. It's the real deal. It is costing less. You do get the same quality service reception and all of that. And you get to talk to real, human beings when you call the customer service.
And what's nice is I don't feel like you're bragging. I feel like you're just being confident. You're just sharing.
It is pretty smart of me to have,
now you're bragging.
Oh, yeah, right. Sorry. For a limited time, you can sign up with Consumer Cellular and save $50 with promo code TED50.
Visit consumercellular.com/TED50 or call 1-888-FREEDOM and mention promo code TED50. Savings based on Consumer Cellular's single line 1, 5, and 10 gigabyte data plans with unlimited talk and text compared to T-Mobile and Verizon's lowest cost single line postpaid unlimited talk, text, and data plans, January 2024.
Terms and conditions apply.
So wait, how did you go from being kicked out of or asked to leave or whatever it was with your 0.00 grade point average from Notre Dame? How did that
bears mentioning, like how you even get a 0.00. That seems almost impossible.
Well, I was rocking a solid 2.0 my first 2 years, and then junior year, I thought it'd be cool to move off campus because, I was a big boy. And, but I didn't have a car, and I just didn't think it through. I lived a couple of miles off campus, and, South Bend in the winter, I wasn't going to hitchhike, I wasn't going to freeze my ass off and, or take the bus, or I don't know. I had no idea how to get there. I mean, I knew the way, but I wasn't going to get up and walk out at 8 o'clock in the morning. So I just didn't go to any classes or exams, and not shocked that I got a telegram. They know U.S. mail. I got a telegram. Do not come back after first semester junior year.
So then what happened?
Oh, I
Second
lived,
City.
Stayed at home for a while, and my parents were like, "What are you gonna do with your life?" And so I gotta get it out of here. So I went to this other college, Rutgers College and University now.
Rutgers in New Jersey?
No, Rockhurst.
Oh, Rockhurst.
Sorry, yeah.
Harvard? No.
And after that, once again, my parents, what are you going to do with your life? Get me out of here. And this friend of mine said, oh, you don't know what you're going to do? I go, no idea. And he goes, well, then I know what you do. What? You go to Europe. I go, yeah? You can just do that? He goes, yeah. Just, get some job and, get, it's $165 round trip to Luxembourg City from New York.
Yeah.
And really? And so that's what I did. So I honked around Europe for about 2 years, give or take.
Really? So
Yeah.
wait, is that
2
you working
years.
or?
Well, I
how'd you
came
make
home.
2 years?
I came home in between, and worked at my dad's office for a while,
Yeah.
and I was living at home, so it was real easy to save up a few $100 and
To go back?
go back. Yeah, I think it's getting cold. I think I'll winter in Spain.
Wow.
Yeah,
And
And
how did you, because you really had
sleeping
no
on
money.
the side of the road,
Yeah.
living on lemons and hashish. Yeah.
I can attest to the sustaining powers of lemons.
So how'd you get to Second City?
Well, I said I can't keep doing this, and so I did the process of elimination. What I wanted, I was determined to do a job that I wouldn't hate.
Right.
So I went through. Look, at teacher, and I'd hate that. Sales, I'd hate that. Doctor, out of the question. Policeman, fireman, cop, cowboy. What? I thought, no, I hate everything except for Second City. I'd seen that in college, and I thought, wow, if I could do that, I bet I wouldn't hate that. So, I didn't even think about a career in
Right.
entertainment, let alone being on a classic hit sitcom. I just wanted to be in Second City. And so it's something to say for short-term goals. And it wasn't until I was there for a couple of years they're going, well, I guess I'm an actor.
I think that's the way to go.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry. You.
No, I apologize.
No, you, please.
No, you go ahead. Okay, no, I'll ask you. Georgie.
Yeah.
God, did we get that
Hold
on
it.
camera?
How did you go from you had the broom to suddenly you're on the stage? Because that's not an easy transition.
Well, I just kept working, in the workshops, and this is the first time I ever applied myself at anything. And so, it was really fun, and I dug it. You know who my buddy was in the workshop? Brandon Tartikoff.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
Isn't that weird?
Amazing.
Oh,
Brandon,
my
who basically
God.
is responsible for Cheers thing on the air that first year.
Yeah. And so, because we were just pals in workshop, and then, I remember they had this showcase for the workshop students, like a little, Saturday night here and there in this local church nearby. And Brandon and I were both too green to be involved, but we wanted to be involved, but we couldn't be on stage yet. So I volunteered to do the chairs, set up the chairs, and break down the chairs. And Brandon was running this coffee concession. Coffee and whatever, cupcakes. And, after this magnificent show, people were blown away, and Brandon and I were just stars in our eyes. And, we were just on the sideline. And so I'm breaking down the chairs after the show, and Brandon's breaking down the coffee table and stuff. And he says to me, George, one of these days it's going to be you and me up there.
Wow.
It was. We have a photo of that
Wow.
somewhere. There's a great
Really?
photo of you topless, and
Yeah.
Brandon Tartikoff, who was, what was his official?
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah.
Who released that picture after 30 years or whatever?
Yeah, I don't know.
Kim Gottlieb, maybe. Who knows?
But that's the way you should start what ends up being the passion of your life, not caring where it leads, just knowing you have to be part of it.
I just was determined not to do something I hated.
Yeah.
But
Worked
so
out.
it took like a year or many months or how long before
Oh.
you finally got to get on stage?
It was only a year in the workshops, actually.
And so the first time you're up there and you're improvising for the first time in front of a crowd,
Yeah.
what was that like?
I sucked. Improv really, for as long as I did it, I was never really very good at it. I would get in my head a lot and be self-conscious. Maybe it's the weed.
Did you write? Did you have to write your own, like Saturday Night Live? Do the people write their
You
material?
eventually do. I mean, you improvise bits,
Yeah.
and then the director, the late Del Close.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Jeez.
He would, essentially be like a head writer. He'd watch the, the improv set and, let you know. It was like, there's a chunk of this scene that we could maybe develop into something else, a scene that otherwise didn't really work on its own. But, and then you sort of fine tune, you keep improvising it. And then it gets to a point where like, this just works kind of every time we try it. And then you pretty much lock it in, so it's scripted at the end.
Right.
And I was much stronger with the scripted material than I was with the
And is it
improvising.
word for word scripted, or you have leeway within it? But
well, you don't want to blow
the beats.
You don't want to blow. You know the beats, and you don't want to blow anybody's setup or punch or something. So it was pretty tightly scripted.
And Del Close was pretty hardcore, though, wasn't he? Like he could rain some terror down on people.
Yeah, and he was. I'll never forget. He was a notorious substance abuser, notorious. I mean, and one time he came back, we were in previews for a new show, and he came backstage at intermission and he goes, I've figured out the closer. We're going to do the entire second act as walruses. And we all just kind of looked at each other like, and I saw Danny Breen, my, friend, great friend, walking behind to the payphone backstage. And I see him ding, ding, with a couple of whatever dimes or quarters. And he dials Bernie Solids, the producer who lived nearby. Bernie, yes. Del wants us to do the second act as walruses. And he says, I'll be right over.
So how did you get from there to Los Angeles?
Bernadette got a pilot.
So wait, how does Bernadette, your wife, fit into this story at Second City? Was she there as well?
She was. She was in the touring company, and I got fired after about a year in the resident company. I had sort of a steady progression. I spent like a year in the workshops, including the children's show. Then a year in the touring company on the road, doing sort of best of material. Then got invited to join the resident company. And I was in there for about a year and sucking at improv, like I said. And so I basically got fired. And but they said, don't go away, just go back in the touring company because we have a bunch of work and we want you to, continue to, whatever. And so that's where I met Bernadette, was in the touring company. And then we got married in like 2 years later. Oh, and then then I got back in the resident company, and Bernadette gets this pilot in LA. And so she came back after about 3 weeks in LA. I said, I think we ought to consider moving. And so I did.
She said we should move.
Yeah. She was getting a lot of attention. Managers and agents, and you got to move out here, that kind of thing. You can't work out of Chicago. And
for all you Cheers watchers, Bernadette played Norm Peterson's off-screen, right?
Correct. And
wife, who we never saw but heard of.
And also Cliff Clavin's one-time love interest, Tinkerbell.
I forgot that.
He was Ponce de Leon, and he was he got into character as this great conquistador, and he was full of stuff. And then once they took the masks off, neither of them could talk.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. I remember that. Wow.
So jumping forward
Yeah. Let's get
into when you started doing Cheers, and then you had a kind of a radical change of lifestyle, would you say? From going from anonymity to fame and all
that was peculiar, wasn't it?
What was it like
too.
for you then?
I don't know, mindfuck, I guess.
It took a year or so for that to kind of happen. In my case, I mean,
it took a year.
Oh, that's right.
Nobody
Because
saw
Cheers
us.
was dead last in the ratings at first, and
hey,
I'm just saying, it's a great story because
turned out
what's his
well.
name? Decided to keep it on. What's his name? We were just talking about him.
Brandon.
Yeah. Brandon Tarkoff said, "No, we're going to stick with it."
He got credited for saving Cheers, but he said later in some interview, "Oh, I would have replaced them. We just didn't have anything good enough to replace."
Yeah. And Grant Tinker, of course, was the actual boss.
But so, like, in the first year, people are starting to recognize you, and
not really. More like, when America caught on, second, third year, sort of.
I think it was
pretty
the
much
year
when
that
you
Woody
started,
came
Woody.
One of the highlight shows that was when Kevin McHale, remember when Kevin Celtics was on the show?
Yeah.
And he would go around and saying, Woody, you have a shot just like, and he'd name some famous basketball player. And the rest of us were incredibly jealous.
Well, this sports writer friend of mine and friend of many, Alan Malamud, the late Alan Malamud, called me one day and said, Ron Shelton's doing this movie, and he can't find anybody who plays basketball. You said you play with Woody. Woody, can he play? And I go, yeah, he's good. He goes, no, really, because they can't find anybody. And I said, well, how would you describe? I said, well, if you put Woody like in a game of like a Division II or III college basketball team, he would not look out of place. You wouldn't go, who's that guy? What's that all about? He didn't fit right in. He goes, I'll tell Ron.
wow.
Okay, say
I
thank
didn't
you.
know that. So you're responsible, basically, for my career.
Yeah.
And I'm just finding out. Thank you, George.
Yeah.
I mean, that doesn't seem like enough of a word, but
Nope.
thank you.
We don't have to talk about Jimmy Burrows, our director, in detail right now, but that was one of the things that made him so amazing was he let you be insane until
Unless it interfered with.
No, until you were in front of the camera. He'd say, you're comedy commandos. I don't care how you do, what you do during rehearsal, or da-da-da-da-da-da, as long as you show up.
On Tuesday.
On the night.
Yeah.
And he would see it once at the read-through or any of the table reads or, once in rehearsal, and he'd know, okay, he's got that. And if you start rehearsing stuff too much, we're a lot of us, this sounds really pretentious, but, it's like we're jazz men, we kind of get bored with our choices after a few times and you want to move on. But, there's really one that really just was right. And Jimmy knew that we'd come back to that one on the night.
I think that there was times, because how do you stay fresh when you've done a show 8, 9, 10, 11 years? And part of the thing was we would not learn it to the point where we were a little scared when we came in, like, oh, I went too far. I went too far this time.
Kelsey was really practicing that for a little bit.
But Kelsey was insane. Kelsey would be on book, and not just as an affectation. He would have his script and he'd be reading it right up until, 20 minutes before we shot it. And then he'd come in and be word perfect.
Right. It was unreal.
It was. He was.
After a while, John and I would be sitting there next to each other, like I'm talking about like year 8 or 9 or something. and they go, okay, A scene, stand by, and I'd look at John and say, any idea? He'd go, nope. But then so you prayed that the first line wasn't your bit.
Yeah.
So somebody started to go, oh, this bit. As long as once it started, we'd know where we were.
You guys.
George, you remember that time? This is the first time this ever happened to me, was when we were doing, this is probably at least, several years into it for me, probably 6-7 years into it, where we went up and you and I were smoking a joint and thought we were done, remember?
Yeah,
and then they're like, Woody, come down for your monologue in scene C. And I'm like, and I go down, and what would have taken one time.
Yeah.
1,
And
2, 3 attempts. And then Jimmy's like, Woody, you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. Everything's fine. Yeah, no problem. Let's do it again. And it took like 10 times to finally get it. And that was the first time I tried acting while stoned, which I realized that don't
not
mix.
A good thing.
Don't mix.
No.
Mind you, I tried it a couple other times.
Yeah.
But each time I learned the same lesson.
Yeah, it's not, no.
Because then you go to paranoia.
You would
you
after
think
the
too
audience
much. You're
left.
Self-conscious, kind of, what?
After the audience left, you went from that horrible near beer or whatever it was you had to drink.
Yeah.
We would drink real beer after the audience left.
Yeah.
Even sometimes while the audience was there, I'd slip in a beer.
Once in a while,
Pretty rare. Usually after they left.
Yeah.
That's true. Professional all the way.
Yeah.
Yeah. You, Woody and George and Kirsty were involved with the prank on me. I think about 6 months before, I had pantsed you. You were wearing sweatpants, and all day long, George and I and John were going, Woody, put on some fucking underwear. My God, because of your sweatpants were slightly revealing. And then we brought in an audience would start watching us when we were in our 8th or 9th year. They'd bring in an audience to watch dress rehearsal or whatever it was. And there was a moment where you jumped on this table. I'm sitting next to the table, and your character jumps up on the table and makes a huge announcement. And I swear to God, I hadn't planned it, but I was looking at your offending member. And so I grabbed your sweatpants and jerked them down to your ankles. And you were rightfully horribly embarrassed.
Yeah.
I thought it was great. And 4 months pass. Wow, no retribution. I'm clear. This is good. I go in to take a shower right before a show. George knocks on the door and says, do you mind if I come in and shave while you're in the shower? I went, no, that's fine. So the door is primed by you to be open. And I can't quite remember. I think you dove in, grabbed the shower door and swung it open, and Kirsty took a Polaroid.
Yeah.
Of me in all my glory.
Confirming your leading man status.
Thank you. And then it showed up during the rap party.
We put it on a rap video.
Yeah.
Andy Ackerman put it on there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was great.
It was embarrassing, but...
Well, I mean, even Steven.
So what about the boat ride?
Okay.
Yeah.
It was our hooky day, remember?
Yeah, it was, as I recall, it was a very female-heavy show. Diane had a old something pal from college, I want to say, and
Rhea was
Rhea
involved.
was a real big part of it, and we
And BB, yeah,
it was a girl, and so we felt like we could maybe. John had just bought a boat,
Boston Whaler.
Yeah. And he was anxious to show it off. So we cooked up this little getaway.
I remember we all met at his boat. Woody and I, by then, were already stoned. And we got on the phone at a payphone and called in to Jimmy, or called into the show saying...
To Brian.
Yeah, Brian, you're right. I'm not feeling too good. I can't come in. And then hand the phone to the next person. I'm not feeling. So it was clear that we were playing
I think
hooky.
somebody said,
Yeah.
I'm seasick. And I got peer pressure.
So we get on the boat. Kelsey immediately had been up all night playing cards, went down to the lower bunk and fell asleep.
The whole way.
The whole way. He was sound asleep. Woody turns to me and goes, "Have you ever had mushrooms?" And I go, No, I haven't. And he said, "Well, this will be a good time. We have nothing to do. We'll be on a boat and da-da-da." So, and we hadn't had breakfast. So I was fairly hungry and ate, I think, an extraordinary amount of mushrooms. And then I'm thinking, oh, this is all right. Then off we go, and we're halfway to Catalina. And this is true. There was the leftover waves from a hurricane in Mexico that was still a huge swell. So people not on mushrooms would be seasick pretty much. But I sat there getting more and more and more freaked out, and whatever it is, you get stoned or whatever it is on mushrooms. And I look at you, Woody, and you stretched out on a bunk, and I think, oh, he's so used to this that he's just cooling and relaxing. I am panicking. I'm having trouble breathing. I'll go up top. And I came and sat down next to you, and you looked at me and you went, "You're high on something, aren't you?" And I kind of nodded sheepishly. And John was like, "Oh, for crying out loud." But you spent the next 45 minutes poking me about every minute or two and said, "Breathe." Because I would literally forget to breathe and feel like I was dying. And then you'd poke me. And then Woody, you finally came up because you were afraid. Well, I should let you speak for yourself, but you said you were afraid you might jump off the back of the boat. So you better come up. And that was my one kind of visual, I looked at you and you looked skeletal. You looked like Woody the skeleton in my eyes. That was my only kind of visual buzz from mushrooms.
Well, I remember you looked like that too. And also G was having a bad trip.
No, I don't think you were.
I think he did
On the way back, I was seasick.
But didn't you do mushrooms too?
No.
I did not, no.
Oh, I thought you did.
No, he was our lifesaver. No.
Well, I just thought how noble it was that you were trying to calm him down when you were tripping, but you weren't.
No, I wasn't.
But you did look like a hologram of yourself.
I've yet to do mushrooms again.
You just weren't breathing at all.
I think I'm ready to do mushrooms again because it is a good thing, right? Mushrooms.
Well, I guess it depends on the setting, but definitely in the middle of a hurricane.
No, in the middle, no.
Pacific Ocean.
No, that was like, I mean, the boat was really going, like the mast thing was going.
Yeah.
It was nasty.
It was the worst 4 hours of my life. Truly.
And we were in such trouble. I thought that.
Yeah.
I didn't think anyone would give a shit.
They called us in one at a time to give us shit the next day.
Yeah. Well, it was fair. We shouldn't have done that.
No, but we'd been perfect for like 6-7 years.
Perfect.
I thought the hip move, well, it would have been extravagant, but I thought Burroughs should have rented a helicopter with the girls.
Oh.
And brought them and meet us on the pier. And when we got off the boat, and go, "Okay, Asian is up." Like, what? Oh, Jesus.
Their complaint was, "You should have told us. We would have let you." And it was like, but that's not hooky, Jimmy. That's
not hooky. Just calling in the morning was, I thought, pretty noble.
Yeah. Gals, we had to roust him.
He didn't wake up. He came alive when we got to Albina, wherever we were in Catalina.
Yeah.
Kelsey had 2 amazing, super moves that were his. And one was, remember how he would eat just the tiniest bit of something and chew it like forever. You know, when we'd go eat together, he'd be 3 times longer consuming his food than anybody.
Oh, I forgot that.
He would eat butter.
and he'd eat butter. Remember that? He'd just take the knife and he'd take a little piece of the butter wedge and then another little piece. Yeah. Yeah,
He's got the
that.
constitution of a horse, so whatever he was doing worked.
But his other superpower was his ability to just sleep and just go deep into the sleep and restore, come back, ready to run.
I'll give you
Did
one
not
more.
wear shoes on stage.
Yeah. Oh, he didn't wear shoes, but he would play basketball with us on a
No shoes.
Yeah, no shoes, barefoot.
Flat-footed. He was flat-footed, remember?
Yeah,
He still is.
I suppose we should give him airtime to defend himself.
Well, I think we crushed it, guys.
I think we did a whole year's worth of reminiscing. Not so.
But-
There's more. But
There
I know
is
there's
more.
so much more that I know we're not thinking of.
Favorite bits that you remember while shooting.
I got both of my favorite bits are Woody's. People always ask what's my favorite show, and I say Jumping Jerks, when the boys went skydiving and we all chickened out. And then we go, oh man, I'm not jumping, neither am I. And it's like, but we can't tell them back at the bar, we can't say we chickened out. Right. We got to come up with a story. Right. But we got to be able to stick to it, right? Because so it's got to be simple and believable. Simple and believable. I got it, says Sam. We jumped, the parachute's opened, and we landed. It's simple. It's believable. Right. We jumped, the parachute's open, we landed. Okay, we got it. We go back in the bar. Oh, man, I never felt so alive. Woo, that was amazing. What happened? What, are you kidding? It was great. It was amazing. Wood and Carla smells a rat. And she goes up to Woody. Woody, what happened? He goes, what? We jumped, the parachute's open, and we landed. It was all very simple and believable. And my other favorite joke or bit was also Woody. It was one of the Bar Wars episodes. And Gary, we're pranking Gary's Old Town Tavern. And where's Woody? I don't know. And then, oh my God, Woody's missing. You don't suppose. And then in the background, you see Woody like done up like Houdini, hanging by his heels upside down in a rope, with gaffer's tape all over his, body. And he's swinging back and forth, on this back stairs, right? So we go, there he is. There's Woody. We all run and we open the door, and Woody's going, and we're like, oh my God, he's trying to tell us something. What's he saying? I don't know. He's got the tape. And we take it off. And we rip the gaffer's tape off his mouth. He goes, don't rip the tape off.
You're the only one that did something. You had a bit that stopped the show. We literally stopped shooting because the audience wouldn't stop laughing. And I can't remember the setup. Maybe you do, but they had rigged you. You guys were supposed to be hot and sweating or something. I can't remember the setup. And they had rigged a tube up your shirt, and so you were just pouring from your armpits.
Yeah,
the audience
and water wasn't even playing.
So it was glycerin.
It was oil. Yeah, I think they had to use like 3-in-1 oil or something to make. I took off my sport coat and it's like, am I pitted or what? Yeah. I forget the setup though, but Jimmy claims it's the only time he ever had to cut the camera on a laugh.
Yeah. Remember that one time Rats did a thing where he did a long pause, but the laugh was...
Oh, that's
remember
right.
That? He paused
and it was almost a challenge during rehearsal. It kept going longer and longer.
And he just, as long as he paused, he got funnier and funnier. Remember that?
I do.
I forget what the bit was, but it was hysterical, man.
You must have been with us by then. Maybe it had to be your first year Nick Colasanto, who played the coach, had passed away with about 4 or 5 shows left, the 3rd season. And Nicky, we didn't I don't know if you didn't realize that he had a heart condition, heart disease. And he knew that when he came to the show, but he was getting more and more to our eye, he was just getting more and more forgetful, but he wasn't getting the oxygen he needed because of his heart. So he would write down on every surface in the bar his lines. And he had one line where he had an entrance where the show was about that he had just lost his friend, a lifelong friend his age, and had died. And
T-Bone Scarpigione.
T-Bone, wow. And he had written his line on the back of where we all enter, the stairs, and it was on the flat side, not the audience side. He had written his line so he wouldn't forget it when he entered the bar. And the line was something like, it's almost as if he's still here with us.
Yeah.
Right?
It's almost as if T-Bone is still here with us. Yeah.
And then the first time we came back, and you had to be there because that was your first show, Woody, we noticed it. And it was so, I think we all basically burst into tears because it was how we were all feeling.
Yeah.
And then we would make a ritual for the next 4 or 5 years. As we came down to greet the audience, everyone would touch the it's almost like he's here with us kind of.
That was your ritual. I got the tongue from Kirsty.
But one day, the painters had decided on the off season to paint the flats and painted over that.
Oh.
And we all damn near quit. We were so angry when we came back.
That's just bad.
Bad.
Who does that? You're going to cover that stuff up.
We also went to his dressing room after he died, and he had an old sepia photograph of Geronimo. It's a very famous photograph. And we insisted that they hang it in the bar. Remember that?
Yeah, it's the one you fuss with at the end of the last episode.
Okay. We reminisced.
Wow.
Georgie, thank you, buddy.
Sure.
Yeah, thanks, G-Man.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Appreciate it.